My name is Kevin Beacham. I'm a hip hop fan, a long-time fan, writer, researcher, documentarian, and so on. The music, just being a fan of the music and being very passionate about it, it kind of happened really naturally for me. Where like just being a fan, always even before hip hop, was a fan of lyrics. So I remember like memorizing all the words of the Temptations, and Casey and the Sunshine Band, whatever, all these, Rolls Royce. And so when hip hop came along, it was just like, the lyrics were very captivating. It was a big part of the music. So like one day I was in the mirror just rapping along to some 14-minute long Sugar Hill song. And there was this long instrumental break and I just started rapping like, I want to hear more rap, I'll make my own. And then I was rapping. And so I think it was happening really I was like, whoa, I'm rapping right now. And then from there, I just like, I think I can rap. And so I started writing rhymes, and eventually someone told me, hey, that sounds good. And I just got more and more inspired to do more and more, yeah. There's two things. I'd say there's two people that were super influential. And one was this guy, Steve White, a.k.a. Romeo. I grew up, my dad was in the Army. And so I grew up all over the place. I was born in Germany and raised in Germany a big part of my life. And the one thing about that, beneficial to hip hop, people probably don't think about, is that because of that, every other month, some kid was moving there from the East Coast. And a lot of times in New York, there's a lot of poverty at that time in New York. A lot of families were joining the military to escape New York. And so there was always new kids that would take from New York all the time. And so that was like, I was probably getting hip hop faster in Germany than kids were in the Midwest and other places, because I was having this influx of people from young guys joining the military, young GIs, that my sister would know or my dad would know, or people coming in, they were just like teenagers, and I was like, preteen. So there's a guy, Steve White, aka Romeo, who was like an MC, I think he's from Queens, and he came with all this information and knowledge. He's the guy that played me Busy Bee versus Kool Moe Dee. One day I was on the school bus, he just came and gave me the headphones and said, listen to this right now. And that was that battle. One time, I'm pretty sure it was either at Empire Strikes Back or E.T. I can't remember which one it was. I was sitting down like in the third row from the front, and I felt these headphones go in my ears. Before I could even look to see who it was, I heard Cold Crush punk rock rap coming on, because it was Steve White just dropping on my like, you gotta hear this Cold Crush punk rap straight from WBLS. So I was getting that. So he was super influential from just like exposing me to music from New York. And also, he wrote a rhyme for me early on, like 1982. I've been writing rhymes on my own, but he wrote a rhyme for me, and then was like, I'm not going to tell you how to say it. You got to learn how to say it, and through you learning it, you'll find your own voice, your own style. And that rhyme became the first rhyme I ever performed in front of people. Before I was a closet MC, only like my best friend might have known. But after that, I was doing things more often like in the lunchroom and starting to get into battles. And so Steve White was a big influence for that. I mean, like basically from that point, once Steve White gave me that extra ray of confidence. Some of the big differences that, this is like, I'm like 12 years old. And so the guys who were rapping were like 15, 16, 17 years old. And so that's that kind of critical time where like, it's that beat it kid, where they don't want young kids around. I was the exception to the rule. Of all my friends and peers of my age who got pushed to the side, the older kids would be like, yo, Kev, you can rap, come hang out with us. And so it kind of made me like popular for my age group. It's like, man, Kev is down with the big kids. So that kind of just like fueled that confidence. So when I go hang out with the big kids and rap for them, rapping for my classmates, that was nothing. Because I can impress the big kids. I knew I was like, okay, this is easy. So that was really inspiring and like, empowering that they would like embrace me like that. And so from there, like, I was just like, I had my first tapes in '82. Me rocking over like, rhyming over Rocking It by Fearless 4, instrumental, rocking it on Nice and Nasty 3, instrumental, because he gave me that record, which is a rare record now. But, so like just rapping instrumentals. And then we moved to the States, and we actually moved to Kansas, Junction City, Kansas, where I had a huge hip hop experience. You might not experience it, think about Junction City, Kansas, but it's the Army bases. There's a lot of kids, a lot of GIs from all over the East Coast. And so on a family vacation, my uncle Chris is a jazz musician, and he had brought a Roland 505 drum machine, and he just did it so he could play drums and practice playing guitar. He brought it to this family reunion, and when I saw it, it was like alien technology to me. And I took it into the house, and my family didn't see me the rest of that trip. I was just making beats on a 505. And my mom came like, where have you been this whole 3 days? In here making beats. And she's like, you really like this thing, don't you? I was like, yeah, I love it. I need one of these for my birthday. And so she told me if I do whatever, get grades or whatever it was, I did it. And I got a Roland 505 for my birthday. And so I started making beats for me to rap to. It was like, I don't want to rap on people's instruments. I want to make songs on my own. And once the word spreads around, you have a drum machine, especially, 1986. It's not very popular where I was at. By now I'm living in North Chicago suburbs. It was not that common for people to have drum machines. And a few years later, I got a Roland 808. And then like a year later than that, I got the SP12. And so just from default of me making beats for myself, along the way, I met people that were like, making music. I'd be like, oh, you're pretty dope. And they'd be like, I heard you make beats. I'm like, yeah, I'll produce you. So I became the neighborhood producer. And so I was really like performing, battling, making songs, producing groups, managing groups. I was kind of doing it all, and kind of building my squad. And what kind of happened was I had a few run-ins with how the business works. Like, trying to get record deals and getting calls back or being like my first call back from a label was in 88, 89. And they were like, we like your demo, but right now we're only signing groups like NWA and Too Short because they were blowing up. And they were like, can you make songs like that? Or can you write songs like that? And I was offended as a lyricist. I was like, why can't I just be me? And that kind of made me not care about getting signed or that part of it. And I sort of went more underground and was more concerned with producing groups and rapping for fun. I was like, you know what? I don't want to rap to make money. I want to rap for fun. And I kind of wish I didn't think that way in some ways. I don't regret it wholly, but I wish I didn't let the industry influence my artistic direction. I could have done different things, but yeah. So up until '97, I was like writing, producing. I have 3 or 4 albums of unreleased material that I've done. Still at my disposal. I have a whole iTunes folder of like 300 songs that I've produced or rapped on. A year after I started with Scribble Jam, the first Scribble Jam was '96. Like a year after that, it was kind of ritual to go to the Rocksteady Crew Anniversary in New York every year. And I would go there, religiously through the 90s. And '97, me and my radio show co-host, I did radio in Chicago, my co-host Jay Pratt were out there, and he got a CD. And when we got back, someone handed him a CD, like, hey, check this out. You got a bunch of CDs. And when we got back home, we were sort of just going through all the stuff, and it was, nah, this is whack, that's whack, nah, that's all right, whatever. He's like, I got a really good CD out there. I was like, you got the only good CD out there? Let me hear it. And it was Atmosphere's Overcast. And that was '97. And so I was like, well, give me that. And there's a number, and I called it. And it was actually, I talked to Sadiq, the CEO, and I was like, send me this for my radio show. I'll play this on the radio for you guys out here. And basically, for me playing their music on the radio in Chicago, that made Chicago their second biggest market. So I was connected in that way of like helping it grow outside of the Twin Cities. And so from there, Jay Bird was also living, where I was living in the Chicago area. And so we started swapping shows. We would bring Rhyme Sayers to Chicago, and they would bring Chicago groups to Minneapolis. And then so it kind of grew from that. So eventually they gave Jay Bird a job. And then one day Sadiq called me and said, hey, we appreciate what you did for us, put us on the radio and giving us shows. If we ever get bigger and want to hire someone else, I would offer you a job. At the time, I was like 31, 32, and I already told myself that if I didn't have a job in hip-hop by 33, I would just get a corporate job. I've been offered corporate jobs for a while, like with Target. I was working with Target. And I was like, okay, I can't string this hip-hop thing on forever. I gotta, I get a job. I said, if I don't have it by 33, I'll take this job. And then literally like 6 months for that birthday, Sadiq called and offered me a job to come work for Rhyme Sayers. Yeah, they were actually always supportive of me. My mom had a thing where my mom and dad were always like, have a backup plan. And that's the thing, like, all through a lot of my friends were always trying to be the starving musicians. They were always like, one of my favorite stories is my DJ for in my high school group. He got kicked out of his grandmother's house and came to live with me because his grandmother had a rule he had to take out the trash. And he once told her, I can't take out the trash, I'm a musical genius. and she threw him out the house. You know, so I was never to that extreme. I was like, I could do my chores. I had a steady job. You know, I worked at McDonald's for a long time. I worked at Target. I was in management positions. I made good money, and that money fueled what I wanted to do. That's why I could buy SP12s and 808s and records and all those things, and pay for, you know, go on trips to promote things. So I was always a hard worker, and I always believed that I would find a career in rap. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I didn't really care because I was just all about the career. I mean, the passion for the culture. Like, you know, like when I started in radio, I didn't think about radio. Someone's offered me an opportunity. I was like, I'll try it. When I started writing, someone was just like, hey, you want to write for us? I was like, I'll try writing. It was all these things that I would try everything just to be part of the culture. And so I mean, in a way, it's like, you know, my family always knew that I was a hard worker. Then I made pretty good decisions, and so I think they were like supportive. They were worried at some points I didn't go to college. I didn't go to college. There was sometimes I was like, you gotta go to college. But after, like, you know, after definitely I got the Rhymesters job and a few things I did, you know, I started my own business a couple of times, promotions companies. They were all like, okay, you're doing good. And so they are happy that I was able to turn this, and they're like super proud of me. They brag to all their friends, and my parents came to Scribble Jam. You know, they come to Soundset now. You know, so my parents were always super supportive of what I did, and they listen to hip hop. Like, you know, even when I was a kid in the '80s, my parents let me play, you know, Crash Crew, Fearless 4 in the car, Disco 4. That was our traveling music to go on vacation. It was like old school hip hop, you know. So my parents have always been super supportive. I kind of noticed that it's important to find inspiration within self. And so a lot of what I do, like right now, I just moved recently to a apartment to focus on just being creative. And so what I did in that space is my history is all around me. I keep everything, you know, pretty much. So when you walk in my apartment, you see some of my old toys. You see, like, you know, my record collection. You know, there's this comic book. There's all these things from my childhood, like, you know, stories I wrote in high school, so I know about my writing history, journals and diaries. So all that's what's always around me, and that sort of like keeps me fueled and passionate. And I don't like people think I live in the past sometimes who don't understand it. Like, oh, why are you so caught up on the past? Like, I'm not living in the past. I'm actually doing the opposite. The past is around me so I can move forward. I'm very passionate about the culture and helping people. I spend most of my life not just helping myself, but helping other people that I saw with talent. You know, I've always been an advocate for artists, and, like, you know, anytime an artist calls and asks me for help and do whatever, how can I help their career, whether it's producing them, giving them advice, driving them somewhere, whatever, I've always been there for countless artists. And what I found that a lot of time is I ended up putting more energy and love and passion into their careers than they seem to. Because when I get involved with something, I dive in head first and I'm involved. And then there's some people who also aren't passionate about it. But what I found out is that I spent so much time helping others that I haven't fully realized what my passions are. There's things I've been trying to do for years and years and years that I constantly put to the side to help other people. And that's one thing that I'm really intending to get over. I mean, like, I want to be there for people. Like, I have to decide and define my ways I can help the culture and I can help people. And that's, you know, playing them on the radio. And that's what the project I'm working on, which is a all-comprehensive history of the culture, you know, past, present, and future. Through that, I can support artists. So I can't worry about one by one helping everyone I can. I got to focus on what's most important to me. So that's like kind of the thing that I'm right on the threshold of overcoming now. I want people to know that you can make your dreams come true. And that sounds like some sort of, like, you know, whatever. But I mean, like, I stay passionate. And people all tell me all the time, oh, you can't do that. Or you can't start your own company. Or you can't survive in hip hop. Or you know, I've been told, you know, you can't do those many things. I've been told at every turn that what I'm doing should not work. Or I've seen people like, man, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? I'm like, I don't know, get in a car and drive to wherever and make it happen. Like, I will drive 50 hours, you know, whatever, just to make something happen. Go to New York, go to Toronto, go wherever I want to go. Nothing has ever been, I never have found an obstacle that I go, oh man, I guess I got to stop because I don't know what I'm going to do. And I want people to know that, no, if you want something, you can get it, but you better be ready to work extra hard If you want the easy way out, go get a desk job. That is the easy way out in some ways. But if you want to do something you're passionate about, be prepared to work 10 times harder than you would working for anyone else. Working for yourself is way harder if you're really going to achieve something that's great. And then the other side of that, hip hop specific, is that I want people to, for me, to realize how important it was to me to document the history of the culture. And when I say history, people always think I mean like, oh, the 70s. I mean, the history is, yesterday is the history of the culture. I mean, always documenting what's happening all the time. And with that, never forgetting the smaller stories. If you read every hip hop history book, it's not those. The same stories are covered over and over and over again, and they're very important stories. But a lot of times you don't hear about the people who are right there. I mean, a lot of times hip hop lets the media and popularity dictate what we remember too. I know friends of mine and peers of mine who were right there alongside of me, listening to, you know, Sir Ibu as much as we were listening to Rakim, or listening to Chill Rob G the same way we listened to Big Daddy Kane at the time, because we didn't know who was going to be the bigger star at the time. They were both dope to us, but because Big Daddy Kanes and the Rakims and those guys deserve to be the greats, and they get remembered, but the other guys get forgotten and are underappreciated. And to me, it's important to be like, no, those people at that time, they were significant in some sort of way. And so it's important to me to make sure that that is documented. And I hope I get recognized for a guy that did that, that was an advocate for those people.